Welcome to this lecture on creating an S3 bucket. An S3 bucket is sort of like a folder on the cloud where you're able to upload files and have them accessible to other people by specifying a URL. If you have heard of services such as Google Drive or Dropbox, this is very similar to that, where you're able to upload basically any type of file, whether it be a video file, a text document, HTML document, or a image. You can upload it there, and there's a specific URL that you get. This unique URL you provide to anybody, and they can access that specific content. Now, you might be thinking, why is this so much different from the volumes that we have in the EC2 servers? The reason they're different is because the volumes that we use for EC2 are used to serve the server itself, and any sort of computations, any sort of information that the servers generate is stored on this volume. Another way that these volumes are used is that any sort of information that the EC2 servers require over and over again is also stored on these volumes. Let me walk through a use case of these S3 buckets. A common use case is the development of a course which is sent out to the employees of a company. For example, you want to instruct your employees in the business aspect, and you want to show them how you can increase the amount of sales that they're creating. Now, in order to do that, you're going to be recording, say, a couple of videos, and you're going to be having text documents, you're going to be having different sorts of case studies that you have. You're going to be packaging all of that in a single S3 bucket, which is going to be having information about the different sections of the course. So you're going to be dividing that bucket out further into folders. You're going to be having section 1, say introduction. Introduction is going to have 4 or 5 videos where you introduce them to how they can start getting more sales, more conversions. Then you have your different sections, and you start building them on and increasing their skill competency that way. So in order for them to be able to access this content, you're going to be distributing the link to this S3 bucket on your EC2 backed web application. So you have some website that's running, and that website is going to be having a connection over to a S3 bucket which provides it all of these videos. Now, it is not wise to store these on the EC2 volumes that we use, because the EC2 server doesn't really care about these videos. The EC2 server is not using these videos to do any sort of extra analysis, and it is only going to be an extra load on the EC2 server. Also, the EC2 volumes are a lot more expensive than the S3 buckets that we have. So S3 is a very cheap way of storing data inside the cloud. That's why we use the S3 buckets. And with the way that the EC2 server is going to be working is it's going to be storing not the videos, not the content, but the links of the videos and information about how to access the content. And once the user asks the EC2 server to deliver that content, it is going to access that specific link over from the S3 server, and it's going to bring that over from the S3 bucket and deliver that over to the user. That's how the content delivery is going to be structured in AWS. The EC2 systems are going to support the web application, which is facing the user. The user requests something, the EC2 system goes over to S3, and then S3 provides that over to the EC2 system, which provides it then to the user. So with that explanation in mind, let's move forward and take a look at how we can create our own S3 bucket. I'm going to click here. It is very easy to create this bucket. We will just go over to create bucket. We need to specify a universally available bucket name, and here we'll do something like company, sales, LMS, team 1001. We'll leave the region as Oregon. You can specify whatever region you want, but it is advised to keep the region closer to the customers or the users. So for example, if your team is going to be residing in Oregon, you store it there. If they're in California, you store it there. If they're in England, you're going to be finding the closest one as Ireland, so on and so on. So let's go over and click on create. We have created our new bucket. Here we have different sorts of tabs, and we'll be visiting each of these tabs in much more detail in a later lecture. For now, let's just look at the permissions aspect, and then we'll see how we can create folders which allow us to section our bucket into different parts. So here, currently, this is only available to me. I'm going to add another person who this is going to be available to, and this is going to be to everyone. Now that is available to everyone, we're going to go over and select the view permissions. And here we're not going to be selecting edit permissions. If we have something like a interactive document, in that case we may want edit permissions, but here we just want view permissions. Let's go over and hit save. We have saved our permissions, and now we can enter into our bucket. Bucket is obviously currently empty. We will go over to create folder. Here we're going to be creating something like section 1 introduction. Let's have another folder, and this is going to be section 2, and this is going to be something like lead generation. Add one more section, and this is going to serve as section 3, and this is going to be about how to convert our prospects. Let's enter. And here we have sectioned off the bucket into 3 different parts, and in the next lecture we will see how we can upload different content into these buckets. Thank you for joining me here, and let's move along.